So welcome everybody to our first magical talk. Welcome to our viewers and our subscribers. And if you haven't not yet subscribed, please do it now and activate the bell so you will get notification. So welcome to my buddies Ariel, Miley and Christo. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's nice to have you in this talk together. We will hopefully do some more of this kind of video stuff. Yeah, it's a new format we decided to do, and I hope you find it good. You viewer, which see this maybe for the first time, or maybe you know some of our videos, you will recognize it's a completely different format, which we will do now. In this first video, we will talk about the Mystical Kabbalah. It's a book from Dion Fortune, and we will talk about the book for some reasons. One of the main reasons is that it's a really good book, which is also in our reading list and which we recommend to read to our students and to people interested in the Western esoteric mystery tradition. And the second reason is because we will have a webinar series about the Mystical Kabbalah, about the topic of the Mystical Kabbalah, not about the book. And this webinar series contains a bunch of different topics about the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah, the history, and it contains many teachings from the boel, and it will held online as webinars. And if you just looking this video later, you can have access to the different teachings via our recordings. So I hope I mentioned everything which is important to start, or have you something which you want to contribute? Ariel, Miley, or Christo?
Oh, let's start.
Let's
Okay,
start.
Let's start with the
Welcome our
book.
viewers and start. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I want to say some words about Dion Fortune and maybe some short words about the book, the structure of the book. So Dion Fortune, why she is important and what we have to do with Dion Fortune. So she's the great grandmother of our founder Salomo Baal Shem. And Dion Fortune was the teacher of Walter Ernest Butler, who was the teacher of Salomo. So we are in the line of tradition of Dion Fortune, and we see us in the line of her teachings. So the book is important for us, and her writings in general are important for us. And Dion Fortune lived from 1890 till 1946 in Great Britain. She was doing much magical work and her things she did in life in London, I guess. She wrote many excellent books on the topics like magic, occultism, and generally about the Western mystery tradition, and is a reliable and important source for modern esoteric interested people. So yeah, the book, The Mystical Kabbalah, was written in 1925, so it's about 100 years old now, but it's still relevant and contains many interesting topics. And yeah, we will talk about some of the topics in the book in this video. And the book consists of two main parts. The first part contains general content about Kabbalah and its importance in the Western way of esoteric, and also it contains chapters about the structure of the Tree of Life. And the second part is dedicated to every Sephirah on the Tree of Life. So this is the general structure of the book. So I would like to start with the first sentence of the book, which is as follows, quote to quote, "The Tree of Life forms the ground plan of the Western esoteric tradition and is the system upon which pupils are trained." So I think this first sentence in this book is so important. What do you think? What do the others think about?
Yes. She writes, it's the ground plan in the Fraternity of the Inner Light, so the school of Dion Fortune, but it's also the case in other genuine mystery schools, and it's the case for Boel, for the Brotherhood of the Eternal Light. And and yes, and Dion Fortune said as well, a lot of people who are interested in occultism and studied occultism and Western mysteries don't even know that the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah are the ground, the fundament of the teaching. And I think it's a very important information to start the book and to start with magical or spiritual training. So
yeah, indeed, sure. And in the introduction, she also states that she relies on sources like MacGregor Mathers, who was co-founder of Golden Dawn, and also on Aleister Crowley, who was trained in Golden Dawn and has his own orders later on. But I think that she states there that she relies on the transcription of Gregor Mathers is very interesting, because commonly when you read a book about Kabbalah or something from the Jewish mystery tradition, from a modern author or from some of the older authors, you don't have some kind of transcription format. So in Judaistic, in science, it is really common to have in the beginning at the book a system of transcription, so that you can know how the words in original were written and how they were translated and transcribed, because that's very important in Hebrew language. And I find interesting that Dion Fortune stated this. That's very good. And she also states that she is not a Hebrew speaker, and that she has more pragmatic or practical view on Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. And I just want to say to this, it's very interesting in our Brotherhood of the Eternal Light. Our founder, Salomo Baal Shem, he studied Judaistic at university and is able to speak Hebrew. And he also has a Hebrew background, a Jewish background in family. So he is able to read all the Jewish sources, Kabbalah sources, and he recently brought out a book about Kabbalistic magic, where he transcribed and translated many old texts, and it's very interesting. And so in the Boel, we have this combination of the Hermetic tradition, which is part of our tradition, and also of this original Jewish tradition, which was not always opened to the older authors. So MacGregor Mathers' Hebrew was not so good. For example, there are some flaws in the translation, which are also in the Mystical Kabbalah, because, like as Dion Fortune say, she relies on MacGregor Mathers' source, And so in the boel, the flaws are corrected, which very interesting, which I think very interesting thing is the Kabbalistic cross, for example, contains the word ata, and in many sources it is stated that the word is ate. Ate is a word which doesn't exist in Hebrew. So ata is a word for you, for the male form of you. And so this is a correction we did in the boel, for example, which was not known to the other authors, which I think is very interesting. So you are really recommended to, if you want to dive really deep into this Kabbalistic and Tree of Life teachings, to be part in our online series about the Mystical Kabbalah. So that was my first really, I think, important point I want to mention about this book and about some of the flaws which maybe occurred in former books and authors. So yeah, that was my first point. Who wants to continue? There are many other points which I think are really interesting.
I would like to continue with the topic why the Tree of Life and the Kabbalistic sources are that important in the Western mysteries. See, the Tree of Life, which is flagged as the Western Yoga, I believe it is in English, is the path of spirituality which is pretty much unknown to a lot of people. A lot of people, if they seek for spirituality, I believe it's also mentioned in the book, will head to the Eastern mysteries. But the issue is that the Eastern mysteries they don't fit that good to the Western persons. And that's why the reason is persons or spiritual people who develop their spirituality with the Eastern path, they retreat from the society. They live in they live with their teachers in a retreated place, and they have nearly no contact to everyday life, so to say. And they in that time of the retreat, they become very sensitive. So the Eastern mysteries are a path where you get that sensitivity, but only if you no, that's not really correct. You develop that sensitivity, but that sensitivity doesn't really fit to the Western path of daily life. The Western mystery traditions, they are fitted for Western people and their Western daily life. Our lifestyle, our daily life just differs from the Eastern culture. Our daily life is more. How I can explain this? We have more
like a kind of daily life, so we are not like secluded in a
we have
ashram. We are going on with the daily tasks, work, and social contacts. So that's a big difference.
Maybe we can read some of her statements. I think you are talking about the first chapter, the yoga of the West. Or it's called yoga. I don't know.
I'm not
German
sure
it's
either.
Yoga. So and there she talks about this topic you mentioned, Christo. That's very interesting, because I think in her time it was maybe a kind of problem, so to say, because many people are interested in the Eastern tradition and they not know that there is a Western way, and that has some reasons. which Dion Fortune also describes, because of the church, which yeah, we can state some of her comments. We can state from her first chapter. Wait a moment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking for it.
I think in this, it's also important to mention here that this is one of the motivations why she wrote this book in the first place, because she said it's not, this knowledge is lost to so many people, and it's so important that all the people have access to this knowledge. So I think this is really an interesting point to mention here.
Really, yeah.
Yes, yes.
This was one of her goals with the book, I think.
Yeah, she mentioned that it's one of the goals that she wants to make the Kabbalah much more popular. And she also states what you said, she has no access to the Hebrew sources, as she said, but her wish was it that by the publishing of this book, maybe the interest arouses for many people, and many Hebrew-speaking people maybe want to get to the sources back and discover these sources more and make it accessible to many more people. And I think that's a really altruistic approach from her. And I like that approach.
Yeah, I like it too. It's very noble.
And I think, I think that is some kind of a path we can see, so that the boel is devoted in making, for example, a video channel in YouTube to spread the mystery, the light of the mysteries, and to inform people about the mysteries in our Western world. So we are in this traditional line, I think, of Dion Fortune. I have found the excerpt of the first chapter. I just want to read quickly. The exoteric state-organized section of the Christian church persecuted and stamped out the esoteric section, destroying every trace of its literature upon which it could lay hands in striving to eradicate the very memory of gnosis from human history. I let out some sentences, and it was not until the 15th century, when the power of the church was beginning to show signs of weakening, that men dared to commit to paper the traditional wisdom of Israel. So she mentioned some authors like Reuchlin or Agrippa of Nettesheim, from Nettesheim, which was able to read and speak and translate Hebrew. And they translated some mystical texts into Latin, and so it was available to the Western world. And that was the beginning of including the teachings, the Kabbalistic teachings into the Hermetic tradition more and more and more. So I just wanted to mention this because it's an example for the problems in the Middle Ages, which we had to face with the church cutting out all esoteric streams. So thank you. That was my point here.
Yes. So maybe to go on with the idea of different paths, Eastern and Western paths, I think as well it's very interesting to understand that they have different aims, so they have different way of learning, as you said, Christo, and you said, Meili. So in the Eastern, the students are secluded all the time with their teachers. They are getting much more sensitive. And on the Western mystery tradition, the students stay in the daily life because the aim is to develop the spirituality and to master the daily life, to master the material plane.
Yeah.
So, and in the Eastern tradition, the aim is to left behind the daily, so to leave behind the daily life and the material plane as soon as possible. So there are different ways, and with at the end, of course, it's the same goal, but we see there are clearly different paths. I think it's as well one important information that we can see in this both paths. It's there is always a teacher. So in Eastern traditions, the student is all the time, or I mean, very close with the teacher, need to have a very close supervision. And in the Western mystery tradition, the students are in contact with their teacher, but they don't have to be like all the time or every day together. So it's like you have your, let's say, homework, and you work on it, and you can inform your teacher or supervisor, and you worked with this supervision on a daily basis. So I think the idea that a teacher is needed is as well very important information that comes very early in that book.
Yeah, and she also says in the first chapter that a Western man or woman should go a Western way, and it's not enough to have a book. I just want to quote it shortly. In consequence of this deplorable limitation on the part of our theology, many Western aspirants take up Eastern methods. For those who are able to live in Eastern conditions and work under the immediate supervision of a guru, this may prove satisfactory, but it seldom gives good results when the various systems are pursued with no other guide than a book and under unmodified Western conditions. It is for this reason that I would recommend to the white races the traditional Western system, which is admirable, adapted to their psychic constitution. So I just want to quote this.
Here, yes.
Yeah.
So here, when she speaks about race, it's a very old book, and so we can understand that as cultures. What that meant back then, 100 years ago, as a culture. So both ways are okay, are effective, but according to one's culture, it would be easier to go with one way or the other one. There was one other place, I don't know where exactly, I think it's the first chapter, where she writes that the book is to her true to her best knowledge. Okay, we know that there are some parts that are wrong, or but it was what she understood. She understood about some parts wrong, but she made it to a base so that it's true, but it's incomplete. So she said, you have to have a teacher. So she didn't write everything in that book.
Yeah, that's correct. I think in the
it's okay. I just want to mention one more important point why it is so important to have a teacher, and I believe this also fits to the East as well to the West. If you have no teacher and just read books and go your own path, for example, you just don't have any feedback, and you have no plan and no idea if you are going the right way, because it happens really quickly if you don't have feedback, that your ego will take over, and you take everything from your own for the right and for the truth, and that's one very important point for me. And
they are dangerous.
To the dangers to have a teacher. And
I think this point is very, very important, and it reminds me of our Kabbalah Ma'asit training. In the first course, we have this part where we discuss why it is really important to have a teacher. And Kabbalah Ma'asid is the practical side of Kabbalah. And so, with everything which, for example, when you learn a profession, you will have a teacher, or you will have somebody who is showing you how to do something. And that's really important also in the practical side of Kabbalah. And yeah, that's an important point, I think. And it's good that she wrote about it, because that must be a problem in her days, and it's also a problem, I think, nowadays. Maybe nowadays a little bit more, maybe, because everybody thinks, oh, I can go my own way, and I want to go my own way, but are you really separated from others? I'm not sure. So Kabbalah means tradition, the things that comes to us from our ancestors, and so we always stand in some kind of tradition.
And a quick point came to my mind. The old rabbis and the mysticisms knew that the origin of the Kabbalah, the Kabbalah came from the angels. So a higher knowledge, a higher being handed down the wisdom to those who don't understand it yet. And if
that's really cool, because Dion Fortune mentioned this.
So if we apply this to the greater thing, which we always do in the Western mysteries, which also Dion Fortune mentions, it is our duty and to hand it down to other people. So
to the greater good.
This fits very well in here, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah. So I think that's a really important point you mentioned, because when you are I'm not finding the right word, when you are relating on a higher source, on a higher purpose, on a higher goal, you really can bring something in the world which is greater than yourself is. And when you are doing it like in a spiritual society or in a spiritual group, it is much more than, I think, the persons in the group are. It's much more. It's a higher purpose, and it's much more to bring into the world. I think that's a really great point.
Yes. And how does this all work? Dion Fortune also mentions this in the book. I haven't read it in English, so I just can nearly quote it from the from the German point. Maybe someone of you can quote it in English if you recognize the
could you say where?
I will try it. In the German book, it's on page. Let me just take a look.
Which chapter?
I believe it's chapter 1.3 on page 40. It says that I will just try to translate it on the fly. The symbols on the tree of life are cosmic forces or factors. The student of the mysteries who uses the tree of life as a symbol of meditation uses step by step or connects step by step his soul to the collective soul, and this leads to an immense energy flow in the soul of the single being and develops the magical or the forces in the being. So if you use the tree of life as a glyph to your personal development. You connect to the higher forces which flow through you and help you to develop your whole being and strive for the high. Yeah, in my opinion, that's quite important, or quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Quote a quote from this chapter: each symbol upon the tree represents a cosmic force or factor. When the mind concentrates upon it, it comes into touch with the force. In other words, a surface channel, a channel in consciousness, has been made between the conscious mind of the individual and the particular factor in the word soul. And through this channel, the waters of the ocean pour into the lagoon. I think that's so nicely formulated.
And if we connect this part with another part which came in the German version one page before, that the universe is in
the
fact
universe is really a thought form projected from the mind of God.
Yes.
The Kabbalistic tree might be likened to a dream picture arising from the subconscious of God and dramatizing the subconscious content of deity.
That's so beautiful.
Words, if the universe is the conscious end product of the mental activity of the Logos, the tree is a symbolic representation of the raw material of the divine consciousness and of the processes whereby the universe came into being. That's so nice.
Yes.
I'm not a native speaker, but it really impacts me.
It really touches me too. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Great, yeah.
This is a really beautiful part.
The dance language, it's really cool.
And in my opinion, this makes it so clear that it's our duty to hand down the wisdom and the knowledge we received to others. To hand down the knowledge which came directly from God, so to say. Or not directly in not directly. It came, the origin is from God, but it's you know what I mean.
and so I think I just I'm sorry, Ariel.
Yes, I wanted to say that a little earlier in the book, she explains that the tree of life as this complex symbol has been emptied out during very, very long time, and that it was accompanied, it was given with a oral tradition, and that together they could allow people to develop themselves. So it was like this symbol is so deep, it's possible to, as you said, meditating upon, to grasp on very higher plane and to understand things we couldn't understand because of the connection, different principle. So basically, for the one who have never heard of the tree of life, maybe not. It's made of 10 spheres, 10 spherot, plus one point of transformation. And these together with the path connecting them describe very archetypal principle, very the purest spiritual principles that we can find everywhere. So with the tree of life, we can understand, we can describe everything, every single thing. So like typically the human soul or the whole universe. And we can as well describe not only something fixed and stable, but as well processes like the creation of the universe. So when we take the tree of life starting at the top and going down or if we go the other way around, then it describes the spiritual development of the human soul. So it's the Jacob letters that you probably heard of. So that's why as well it makes so much sense that the tree of life is the fundament of spiritual training in this structure, because it represents the development of the human soul, how we go back to God after being created, after being part of the creation. So yes, this very profound symbol has been hanging out very long time and can give so much information or allowed so much understanding. Basically, like astrology is based on the tree of life, or if you want to understand it, the tree of life is like something you cannot not use or for tarot. So a lot of people who are interested in spirituality and Western tradition, like I said, tarot or the Western astrology, don't even know it's based on the tree of life and Kabbalah. So it's a big advantage to be aware of where it comes from and to use it. So
that's why I'm so happy about our webinar, which will start in a few weeks, I believe.
In 2 weeks.
In a week.
Yeah.
And in a week. Also, on the 24th, I think.
Yeah, I believe it's about Kabbalah.
Yes.
And
1 week.
And I will just. I'm so happy to. Yeah.
Yes. So on the 25th of April.
25th, is it? Okay.
Yes, the 25th Monday. So the webinar series is going to start, and it will be a pretty long series. It will be, I don't remember exactly, I think it's like good 20 appointments, if I remember.
Very intensive.
Yes. So and a lot of very broad pictures on Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and related topics. And so if you can join to the webinar so that you can attend live, if you are watching this video after the 25th of April 2022, don't worry. You can get access to the recording and as well to forum where you can ask your question.
And let me point out that the really point the point of our webinar series, the big point is that we have this combination of this Hermetic and Jewish tradition, and you won't find those contents in any book.
Because we have a teacher. So you can, if you want to enjoy a personal teaching, then it's where it starts or where it can start. So you're really welcome to join and maybe have a try for you to see if the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah is for you, and maybe as well the boel, how we learn it, teach it in boel.
Is there an important point we want to mention about the Mystical Kabbalah?
Yeah, I think that's what Dion Fortune also wrote in the book. You cannot write everything in the book, but it's important to have a teacher. And this is the opportunity to have a teacher and learn the Mystical Kabbalah from a real teacher. And I think this is what she mentioned and wanted to say.
Yes.
And her words are true in our days. Yeah, really.
Yes, it's still.
So, okay, I think that was a really nice round of us four. I really enjoy to have a magical talk, and I hope our viewers will enjoy our forthcoming talks and give us a like and the more likes we get, the more the chances there that we do more of this series. And if you have questions, if you have topics, if you have something you want to tell us about, leave a comment. We answer every serious comment, or we take your topic maybe for one of the next videos of this series. And yeah, thank you very much. If you don't yet subscribe to our channel, do it now, because we know so many people are watching our videos without subscribing. This can't be true, but it is. So subscribe and activate the bell to get notification. So, okay, that was it from my side. I hope you had fun, Christo, Miley, and Ariel.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a cool round, I think.
Yeah.
And an interesting topic. Yeah. So, let's say goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Bye. See you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.